Life couldn't have been better for Katie Haines from Oxfordshire as she prepared to get married.
11:20, we're just having some photos taken, ready to go. I'm gonna cry. I just wanted to say, I'm really excited and really looking forward to marrying you. I love you lots and very happy.
She loved the cycling.
Yeah.
She loved this view.
Just 2 months after her wedding, Katie was dead. Her funeral took place at the same church where she was given away by her dad, Gordon.
It's nice to know that
Yeah, that she's looking down on all of this. It's just the most perfect, peaceful spot, isn't it, with the river running by.
I cannot begin to articulate how much I miss her. I mean, it's on a daily basis. I can look at photographs of her, we have them all around the house, but I can't watch the videos that we have.
What have we got here? This photo here.
That's taken on the morning of her wedding, which was the 12th of December 2009.
She was so incredibly affectionate. Even at her age, she would want to sit on my lap, for instance, or she would want to give you a cuddle or a hug or a kiss. She was very ticklish around her neck, so if I kissed her on her neck, you know, she would start giggling.
On an icy February evening 2 months after her wedding, Katie arrived home from her job at Oxford University. Whilst her newlywed husband was picking up dinner, she went upstairs to run a bath.
It was a very, very cold February evening and it was sleeting. We were on the M4 when her mother-in-law rang and said, "Where are you?" She said, "There's been an accident and Katie's been affected by carbon monoxide. Can you turn round and can you go to Royal Berkshire Hospital in Reading?"
Nobody rang us to say she's okay, so that's why I feared the worst.
And the doctor came through the door and told us what had happened. It didn't sink in, I couldn't believe it until I saw her. She had 35% carbon monoxide in her bloodstream, which is, I mean, off the scale.
Within minutes of entering the bathroom, Katie was overcome by carbon monoxide produced by a faulty boiler. She collapsed, hit her head on the bath and effectively drowned.
To see her in the state that she was something that will be etched in my memory, I think, forever.
Close your eyes, rest your head on my shoulder.
Since Katie's death, her family have been campaigning tirelessly and producing films to encourage everyone to have a carbon monoxide detector.
We can't change things overnight, but we just hope we can make a difference.
Close your eyes.
British gas engineer Dan Cherry knows how essential it is to have a detector in the home.
Find the boiler and then we're there.
CO is quite rightly known as the silent killer.
It's completely odourless, tasteless and colourless, so you would have no idea that it was in your living space until your alarm went off, if you had an alarm, or until it was too late and you started suffering the effects of carbon monoxide poisoning itself. In terms of how you feel, you can, some people describe them as flu-like symptoms, so you get headaches, drowsiness, nausea. In extreme cases, you can get loss of consciousness.
Today, Dan is installing a CO detector.
Pull attack, and that's now
a
live.
service they offer to all customers during a boiler check.
Lovely job. Where's it going to go?
Just up here.
They cost under £30.
And do you have one of these at home?
I do, yeah, wouldn't be without one.
But it's estimated that in England, 2/3 of households don't have a carbon monoxide detector, and that results in casualties.
In England and Wales, there are 30 accidental deaths a year. 200 people are admitted to hospital, and around 4,000 people are treated in A&E for carbon monoxide poisoning. All of them accidental exposure.
Yeah, I can see it. You just see which one.
Ever so slight tremor in my foot.
Roland Vesling from Oxford is still suffering from the effects of carbon monoxide poisoning, 5 years after an accident that killed his partner Hazel.
So just relax there. So it's...
In 2011, Roland and Hazel were on a camping trip. Before they went to sleep, they placed their smouldering barbecue inside their tent. Unbeknown to them, the tent quickly filled with carbon monoxide.
When I woke up, it appeared ages until I was completely conscious. So it was a very, very slow process. I turned around to my left and saw Hazel was just an arm length away. And despite the fact that I couldn't move very much, I could at least move my left arm. I quickly checked whether or not there was any life in Hazel, but sadly I immediately knew that she was dead.
Roland and Katie Haines' mum and dad believe a good way to keep a large proportion of people safe is to make it a legal requirement for all rented properties to have a CO detector. In October last year, new carbon monoxide alarm regulations were brought in to rented properties. But the law fell short of expectations. Only homes that have a solid fuel burning appliance like a coal fire were included in the bill.
The all-party parliamentary carbon monoxide group estimates that less than 10% of all rented properties use a solid fuel type appliance. By far the majority, so over 90%, use other fuels such as gas or oil, and those aren't covered by these new regulations.
It seems completely, utterly absurd that gas wasn't included in the bill.
It's interesting that the English regulations came into force in October, and in December Scottish regulations came into force. But in Scotland, any person in a rented property which is heated by any fuel, any flame-burning fuel, is required to be protected by a carbon monoxide alarm. So we can't really understand why the English regulations are only covering the 10% of properties that have a solid fuel-burning appliance.
Why is there a reluctance to have carbon monoxide detectors in every single rented property?
Well, we always keep these things under review, but the fact at the moment is we've increased the regulation last year, and it's getting the balance to make sure when we bring new regulation in, it is actually protecting and doing something different to what's already there. We do already have this duty for the landlords, and we've toughened up on that as well, and we of course do have that annual gas safety. But we do keep these things under review at all times.
Can I just point to an all-party report which in 2011 recommended that all rented properties to be fitted with an audible carbon monoxide alarm manufactured to European standard EN 5921. 2011 they were saying that, and still you're not doing it.
Well, we did increase, as I say, the regulations last year to make sure that anywhere that has that solid fuel does have to have that appliance in there. Also, of course, any new build home, it's not just the private rented sector. But we do also have other elements going on, as I say, the gas safety checks and that general duty of care that a landlord has to their tenants.
And it's not just the lack of CO alarms in rented properties that Katie Haines' family are concerned about. They believe every household should have one.
Lives are being lost for the sake of £20.
Yes.
How is that acceptable in this day and age?
Well, it isn't.
Oh, what a little gem.
Do you think Katie would be proud of what you've done, what you've achieved so far, and what you're trying to do?
Yeah, she looks down on us and I can hear her. Yeah. I think she'd be very proud.